All right. It is February 12, 5:30 p.m. Call to order. And we're going to determine quorum. We have Cristal Vaca, Iris de Leon, and Luis Gomez present, along with Darren Nance. Okay, do we have any, we have established that we are gonna be able to move forward.
Yes.
Okay, moving to public comments. Not all at once. All right. All right, we'll move past public comments directly into public hearings. Pause, okay. Next, we want to do approval of minutes of previous board meeting. Before or after we make the motion?
Say, motion second discussion.
Okay, so I move to amend the minutes of the previous meeting to say, on page 5, item A, we're just gonna, the motion by Luis and seconded by me, we're gonna amend that, to say that we just tabled the discussion for, the parks budget.
Instead.
Yes.
That's correct, right, Leo?
You know, yeah, if that's what y'all remember happening, sure. I don't, haven't looked at that recently, so.
Okay, so we have that motion, but Crystal Vaca, we have a second.
Second.
Iris Leon seconds that. All in favor? Motion carries. All right. Okay, so now we're moving to number 6. Information or discuss items. The first item to discuss is the graffiti and painting in city parks. And I know it doesn't have any graffiti. I noticed this Pueblo Nuevo doesn't have graffiti, but I did want to talk about maybe getting a timeline as to when it's gonna open, if there's just a certain area of the park that needs to stay closed. Where are we at with that? Why are we still completely closed?
So far, we're waiting on the ADA parking to get started and completed, and after that, we have to call so we can get it inspected and see if it passes, yes or no. then
And you ADA parking, what is that?
for handicap,
Okay,
a van and a car,
and
2 spaces.
is that something that has to have the whole park closed? Is there any way we can just close off that section?
No, so this is under a grant project. And so we have to meet all of the grant requirements and weather requirements to make sure that the park is ADA compliant. Because we didn't pass the first inspection, the park is not ADA compliant.
Oh,
So
wow.
it actually had several items and they've gotten everything, we're just pending the parking. So right now, a person in a wheelchair cannot really access the park at all, so the park would be non-compliant.
Completely closed. And do we already have like a timeline for when someone's gonna come and look at it again, or complete the?
So working back with the grant officials, because it wasn't part of the original grant.
So as of right now, not in the foreseeable future.
Oh, no, it will be done within the next couple of months.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Fingers crossed, they have to approve it. If they don't approve it, then the city will have to fund it itself.
Oh, gosh.
And I think the lowest quote was about 14,000.
Ooh. All right.
Wait,
Okay, yeah.
yes.
The other questions that I had on that was just to discuss graffiti and painting, so. Citizen reached out and said that there was graffiti and painting. I went over to all the ones in the south side and I was looking, because I thought she had mentioned Medina. I didn't see any graffiti or painting over there. It all looked great. She said Coconut. Have we had any graffiti or anything over at Coconut?
No, they didn't.
Okay, and when graffiti does come about, how is that resolved? Do y'all have removal or?
Yes, usually we can cover it either with spray or roll on, whatever. We have the same color of paint and all that, so it's not too big of an issue on that.
So we paint over it or paint remover or whatever, something.
Yeah, we'll try to sand it off, whatever. I think the last one we really had was at the skate park,
That makes sense.
so we just got the sander, took it off and just repaint it, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay. That was the only thing I was bringing up was the citizens' concern with graffiti.
Were they
Okay.
just thinking that it was like the year that's written, like under the bridge? Cause there is like just the year 2024, but I'm like,
I
were
think
they
they-
maybe thinking that's what it was?
I think they said it was on the kids' equipment. But
Oh,
don't
okay.
quote me on that, because I didn't make it over there.
Okay.
All right, anyone else, anything with that, of city parks? Okay, we're moving on to discuss the parks budgets from 2023 to 2024 and the current 2024 to 2025 fiscal year.
So I added that. Because. Two reasons, basically. I'll start before, the kind of the pre-idea on this is that. City council's having issues getting, people on boards, getting interest from the public on boards and everything else like that. So. Where city council is kind of making this discussion is either to move into a workshop format where we don't have to have quorum and all these other kinds of things. Or to keep it more formal as an advisory board. My question is this, when I get involved in something, money makes everything happen. So I always think it's important for the board members to have access to just understand that department's budget. That's why I wanted you guys to kind of see what the budget actually is for the Parks Department. A lot of this is not pertinent to us, fuel and oil. You'll see a lot of it's just. The ones I wanted to focus on was from salaries, which is 0101 all the way to workman's comp 0205. So my question for David was, how many employees are in the Parks Department?
5, including myself,
So 5 total or 6 total?
5 total.
5 total.
Are you including the recreation coordinator?
We have one.
When that-
Oh, so but with last year's budget, so it'll be 6.
Because it's budgeted, so 6 total,
It's
and that's a recreation coordinator. And what other positions, Megan, on that? You have a manager?
So it's a parks foreman, and then they have the various levels of workers. And then the recreation coordinator. Like, it'd be
Foreman,
a worker 1, 2, or 3.
yeah, just so 1 foreman, 1 recreation coordinator, and 4 workers. Okay. And you see, out of this whole budget, 552,375 of that, 375,000 is just basically human labor, human capital. The only reason I think that's important is if y'all did ever move into council or anything else like that, you all work in banking, so y'all understand that. But I think it's important to know from the city's perspective that the parks budget, correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but is 100% of this budget come out of general fund?
Yes,
So the entirety of what the Parks Department is funded basically from the general fund, which is gonna be sales tax, property tax, and a third of it is it administrative stuff, or what was the third one, Megan? I can't remember. Sales tax, property tax, and
franchise administrative fees.
franchise administrative fees.
And those are the fees we take from other funds like water, gas, airport, and move into the general fund.
So now you guys know it takes $500,000 to provide for parks in Alpine. And that is financed basically through property taxes and sales tax, the majority of it, or some of the other kind of stuff. I find that stuff interesting.
And that's not even including any of the grants we ended up using for other stuff.
Pueblo Nova grant is reported separately because it's a grant, so we have to make sure that that isn't utilized for normal operating expenses. And that's 13 parks that get taken.
And there will be a quiz. You guys can name all 13 parks. I didn't know we had that many. The other 2 items on this list that I was interested in. If Megan can elaborate on the item 0731, which is just recreation programs, there's 5,000 in that. I was wondering what that's used for.
So when we had when we had a recreation coordinator, the idea was one to take over the pool. In the past, the pool's been managed by various departments, including finance. And so we wanted to put it back under parks. The compromise was to hire a recreation coordinator, to really manage the pool. When we did hire someone, the thought process was, well, hey, what if we wanted to do other activities, which ideally we do want to grow into that, softball games, kickball, competitions, all kinds of stuff. So we put a little bit of money aside so that we can use that to buy the basic supplies to start those types of programs.
Good.
Unfortunately, they resigned, and so it should have zero usage.
So the money's
Yeah.
there, but we've never.
Are we able to allocate it? Or is that not till next budget?
So, well, you guys don't have the ability to allocate it. We are in the process of interviewing another recreation coordinator. So I believe that person would have that availability to use that money. We don't start moving money around until we're towards the end of the fiscal year, or if it's like a dead certain decision. To move the money out of that line item, hire a recreation coordinator, and then tell them, well, you don't have any money to do anything. Kind of defeats the whole purpose.
So is the position of the recreational coordinator, was that salary already included in this one as well too? Oh, okay.
So recreation programs was more program oriented and less labor.
Yeah, that was more for that person to be able to buy the supplies, to be able to do recreation. If we wanted like a kickball tournament, or we would have to buy the kickballs. A lot of it would probably have been applied to the pool. Especially there'd been conversations about swim teams, about, doing different things. It was to give them the ability to not have any funds.
That's interesting.
And then the other one I had listed in here was 9,000 FY24 park signs, so that's 5,000 as well. And that comes back and ties into the task that can't remember who had that one, but Nate, that might have been you, Crystal, because it wasn't a small one. But coming up with signage and everything else. The whole reason I think it was important for you guys to kind of see the budget side of this is when your council ex officio member or whatever, or if they go to you guys and ask what y'all think would be important tasks for the Parks Board, because y'all hear things from the community different than, us. I do think it's important for the Parks Board to have a set line of tasks, and for those to come to fruition or whatnot, it would 9 times out of 10 require something in the budget. So I just like for you guys to see that if y'all do have tasks, know that if it's gonna require money, it should talk to your council member or whatever else, so that they can talk to Megan to get it in there.
So as of right now, the pool is part of our jurisdiction.
Technically, it's always been part of Parks and Recreation, Parks Board. It's just because we're. Like I just said that. But because it's open for a short period of time, it's never been a big focal point. It used to be a lot bigger back in the day. I know that when they remodeled, and then, like I said, there's been all the issues and turnovers and staffing and ability to, I think one summer in 18 or 19, it didn't even last a year. So it's never been a focal point of the parks, because like I said, it's not open very long. But Durham did want y'all to see like, hey, this is part of the ordinance. Pool falls under that. And then if there's any major decisions with the pool, and kind of like recreation coordinator, that's gonna be their task, and understanding, budget wise, this is where the money's gonna come from. So yes and no, I think it's important. It's hard to say, we wanna task you with keeping it over 12 months a year, and I'm gonna say, good luck. But I mean, to understand that it is part of the Parks Department. I do believe
I think
the
other
bathing house or bathing.
yeah, other managers just like threw it around. And I would make them wanna keep it like in the pool and then
I ran the
have that.
pool when I
person.
started here. As the director of finance, I was the pool manager. Not that it was like a bad deal. I love to learn, but when I took over city manager, I kind of put it back on the plate and I threw it at them because you're responsible. Because it's hard. We had an HR coordinator doing it. We had finance doing it. We had a court clerk doing it. And it's really not fair because it's very much outside the scope of what they're hired to do,
I'm assuming though that the fund codes always live within the Parks Department,
always.
which makes sense for it to be managed by the park.
So
And I think the way, because it's actually, everyone calls them the Parks Department, but their full title is Parks and Recreation. We've just never really had the recreation except for the pool.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to expand, quality of life is a big thing. What do my kids do? What do we know? So we're trying to build upon.
So that 12.5 is with the concept of the pool only being open a few months a year. Okay.
And there are times where, and I know that social media loves to hate us, any city at this point. Chlorine, we can't open the pool if we don't meet the regulatory requirements for the chlorine levels and stuff like that. It upsets people. But we also don't always get chlorine because there was one summer where it was pretty much next to impossible to get. And remember, we have to have it brought in.
Yeah.
I can't run to True Value and buy,
Yeah.
a little bottle for my house pool, above ground. We buy it in, 5 to 15, 20 gallon buckets, and that doesn't last all day. So we do buy it in bulk, and so that's hard.
Plus the acid that comes like in 55-gallon barrels, so.
Right.
And then there's still all the other meanings to it, and the weather. I know people wanna swim in the lightning storms, but we legally
Cat.
cannot allow. So the idea is just the maintenance. It's gonna be the chemicals, it's gonna be, if we have to buy a new, we vacuum the pool. It's also gonna include such items like if we have to buy a new safety,
Oh, yeah.
floaty things. We utilize it also for the poles,
Bracelets.
a lot of, anything that's used to operate. Minus the uniforms, lifeguard uniforms, we take out of actual uniforms.
And I would just mention too, there's only two revenue streams if I'm not wrong, for parks. It's Civic Center rentals over here and then pool entrances.
And the
in the pavilion. So the pavilion, the Civic Center as far as rentals and then the pool stuff. So not a lot of, so $500,000. So from that general fund, but those are your revenue streams.
So I like to tell people when you're thinking about this stuff, 'cause you guys are in a great position, I do enjoy this board. A lot of people say, well, they should break even. Well, your department should break even. They should bring in what they put out. So if you take that expense, $500,000, and then just think about it, okay, these are the only revenue streams we bring in. What would you charge a kid to go to the pool?
Not $2.
So this is where it's really understanding that, yes, it may look like a big budget. I can tell you it's not big enough. Considering the square footage that they cover and then wanting to do more and more. But it's hard. So when you look at coming up, the ordinances and then like we just looked at the cost of pavilions, we made a decision on that. That is to help with this department. But the city as a whole funds the department. Otherwise, I think it'd be like $50 a day.
So the two things that the whole reason I kind of wanted y'all to see this is because I want y'all's input too on the city council conversation we're gonna have in the next 2 meetings. Actually, in less than a week. One is why be on a board? And then what value do you guys get from volunteering? Is there any structural thing that you guys, that the city needs to do with y'all in order to say it would make you more apt to be on a board? Whether that's providing y'all more feedback into what those tasks are. Like nobody wants to come up here and do something and then you sit on here for a year and nothing ever happens. I want y'all to think of ideas that you want to see within the city, because that's why someone gets on council. And see the changes they want in their community, then actually also have the ability to do some of it.
Yes.
It's all gonna run through council, it's all gonna run through the budget and stuff like that, but nobody wants to go to a meeting for a year and nothing happens.
Yeah, because if there's more ways for us to be involved and actually like be out there,
Productive.
yeah, like it'd be good to know what we can do to be more productive. Or if there's
Win the
things,
lottery.
right? Or, just, I wouldn't mind being more involved, like doing more stuff out there if I can.
I'd say then, just before, Tuesday, if y'all have any idea on that, any changes y'all would foresee or y'all would want within a board, y'all can go brainstorm wherever. If you want, just email me, and then that way I'll have y'all's feedback as well when we move back in. Because we have issues meeting a quorum and finding people to sit in those seats. So I'm really interested in what brought you to be even volunteer your time to be in those seats and what the city can do in order to keep you in those seats. And that is everything I have on that.
Moving to the next item, discuss native plant list for city parks.
With that. To run an idea off you guys. This kind of comes back into what I just mentioned. I reached out to, I was talking to somebody, they forwarded me over to, I can't remember her name, but, she sent me this, which is the Alpine Public Library, a landscape thing of all native plants. Because we were talking about, what if there was a native plant list here within the city, what El Paso does. This is way more complex than we would ever need, but we actually put it into an ordinance or something like that, some kind of, maybe it's just planning document for the city as well. But it has like shade trees, small, medium, large, decorative plants, what kind of grasses. They're really creating a design language from landscaping in order to probably. So you don't go plant something that requires a ton of water out in El Paso. But then there's also a unified design language, so if you go to different parks throughout El Paso, it seems like it's beautifully landscaped, but you know you're in the desert.
Mhm.
So my question for you guys is this. What is y'all's feedback on something like this as far as requiring a set of plants or things like that, that a landscaper would have to work with, if there was any future, park changes?
I think it'd be good to add more of a variety, because like I walk a lot, so it's sometimes all you see is just, trees, that's it. And I'm like, it'd be nice to see colorful, it's more of a variety of plants. I would like to see.
Saying that, then because this would somewhat limit variety, but you could also have the variety you're asking for, like shade trees, but also, flowering plants.
Yeah, basically, I think what she's trying to say is like, yes, this is good, to like let landscapers or whatever have a set list to choose from that will actually be beneficial to like plants here, not like something will die like in the middle of summer or whatever. I think it's a good idea to have like a set list for if in the future there is any changes.
Is this something we can coordinate with like True Value? I don't know if there's any other plant sellers in town.
Well,
But, as long as that it's available there, they're more likely to stick to this. Now, if there's those trees that take up too much water there for sale, sooner or later, they're gonna end up in the streets.
Question to Gio, you might, because you'd be the historical knowledge on this. When, let's just take Pueblo Nuevo, that has been landscaped in theory. And David, you may know this, then how were those plants chosen for Pueblo Nuevo and who did the landscape design? Do we know?
Actually, that was decided by the Parks Board,
Really?
Huh?
so. 15 different designs, I think, later. It was supposed to be a memorial park. And so the trees were supposed to have basically the pathway to come into the center, and in the center there was gonna be a art feature, water feature. The water feature eventually got taken out because
Water.
exactly. But that's why the trees are a little odd, but it was supposed to divide it into the 4 quadrants, and they were supposed to come in. The trees were actually donated, and some of them were purchased by residents in the area and in the city as kind of like a memorial. And they were supposed to have plaques, and unfortunately, the park board got some of it done, and then they kind of fizzled out. Remember, we've had city managers change over. Some thought the idea was great, others were like, this is a waste of time, unfortunately. So that's how that initiated. Now, the new design was actually done by the city manager and I guess the grant writer. Were you guys part of that?
Marcy was probably,
They,
Marcy, Eddie and I were decided on the rocks.
but did you guys actually get to participate in the grant application?
You know,
I don't know who did the grant application to decide how it was all gonna be set up.
And what plants were gonna be planted where?
Oh, and there wasn't no direction on that either.
yeah,
It was just landscape. That's literally landscape. Now, I know that a lot of times we work back with Adelina. Because she does a lot of the Arbor Day stuff, the trees, because she can get them donated. When we get them donated from like Apache, The only requirement that we really have right now is that they need to be drought tolerant.
Yeah.
Live in the desert. And more native to our area. And the reason we're going that direction is one, it helps them live longer. You're not gonna have a, Christmas tree farm. Obviously, because you don't have that kind of water source or even that time of climate. So that's kind of been the direction we've gone. I know you're not gonna wanna hear this, but Baines Park had rose trees all along one side, rose bushes and not trees, I apologize. I do myself. But they had all these rose bushes that were put in, as part of another kind of memorial project. And they were all removed. The feedback was they weren't kid friendly.
That makes sense.
So having,
Always on my path, so.
they get out of hand, but they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But having the set list and you guys could be creative with it would give you some of the color, variety. But then it would also be easier, especially as we go into bigger projects and things that we want to do. Instead of, hey, what do I plant? Well, these are my options, this is what I want. True Value has it, maybe they don't. I think there's another nursery.
Going out of town.
Even the Railroad Park has nice exotic plants there, but they worked on it. And also the triangle over there across McDonald's. They have some desert plants
Oh,
there
yeah.
that are.
So I don't know if you know that
Good.
triangle is the city's.
Okay.
Is that a park?
It is not technically a park.
Yeah.
Please do not park your vehicle right to visit.
Dangerous part to get to.
But, so the railroad park, 90% of that was also, they're donated. They're from the people who adopted the little bitty sections. We tried to do the adopt a park and we ended up with adopt a spot. But it worked, right?
Good,
yeah.
The property across from McDonald's is a city property. It's actually currently being considered part of our Keep Texas Beautiful Governor Achievement Award. And we're working with the state of Texas, TxDOT, on doing a landscaping project for that.
Ooh.
And the reason we're doing that section is love the native plants, love the beauty of it and the concept, do not like the trash. Everything gets caught up in there. And
Yeah.
as a visitor, walking into town, driving into town, the first thing you see is all the wrappers and the trash right in that little area. And so it's harder to clean and we have to clean it more often. So we're gonna try to compromise with the state to put something in that will allow easier maintenance. But the state is definitely not gonna let us make it a park. Cause it is off of the 2 one-ways and accessibility to it isn't necessarily the best. I would hate for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to say on this, it might make sense for us to get, there was a gentleman that did the work over near the Alpine Public Library over there. With a lot of the drainage and stuff like that. I might see if we can bring him in with pictures of some of these in the neighborhood, so we can say like. What is a Chitalpa? And he could say, oh, this is one over here, you see, and that way we see what they look like in the community. And then maybe get Alina up here as well and get her opinion on it.
Yeah.
But what I like is everyone comes in and they'll donate a plant, and we always love donations. But then you have this hodgepodge of, whatever plant they liked and wanted, which may not be adaptable to the soil, which may have different watering needs, which may have a whole bunch of other stuff. So by us just providing this cafeteria list of items that they can choose from, maybe that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
it'll be a lot, and it's like gonna be uniform, but not in a bad way, like everything will look kind of the same in a good way. Like all the plants that we should be having out here and trees and whatever.
Well, it'll be easier for the park department. I don't think people realize that sometimes the maintenance of the different types of trees, the different types of plants isn't all the same.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we do want to replace the trees that are dying off. We want to keep them pruned, but some you want to prune them in the winter, some you don't want to touch until they get to a certain stage. I know that there's several native plants that I swear are dead, but they're not. They just look it. So then it's like, well, I dug it up because it was dead, and in my mind is like, no, it's just hibernating.
Yeah.
It'll bloom in the spring. So I think having some consistency, and then as someone who would donate, if I knew this was my list, I hate having to make decisions 24/7 because it's my job. But if I could just say, okay, this one, here you go, my money.
Yeah.
Instead of like, well,
Googling and.
And that does
And-
help staff, so David
Yeah.
doesn't have to know 400 different types. of-
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it helps like they get to know it and they get to understand what they're supposed to do with them. I think it makes a lot of sense.
And that way I think would get more donations too. Because if people saw this, then,
Yeah,
and they would also be buying these plants here, you would assume,
Locally.
locally, so that would bring money to those.
And it may
Stores.
encourage the true value in the paparoto, I said it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
that's my.
And then there's another individual who wants to open
Nursery.
a nursery. It may encourage them to carry those types of plants.
Mhm.
So then you would have even more uniformity across the city as a whole.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
I like that.
And I'll follow up with Adelina and the other gentlemen, see if they'll do a presentation for us.
Awesome.
One of the next upcoming meetings.
Is it Mitch Wright, is that your picture?
I can't remember, I think it started with the L, younger guy, maybe in his 30s.
Oh, that's not.
But anyone that knows anything about the plants and can find photos, I'd be down with.
What's his last name? Will?
It is
Will
Will,
Jewett?
Will to it, that's it.
Oh, he was at the tree thing whenever they were
He's the one
giving
that
it
goes help
away.
us with
that.
Yeah,
He
Okay.
helped with a ton of city like landscaping plots, so.
yeah.
We just pruned a tree on in front of it. They're not.
So Will Jewett and Adelina, we can get them over here.
Okay. Alright.
That was everything I had on that.
Okay, let's move on to discussion item D, discuss and update the Article 3 municipal pool city ordinance.
So this one, we already went through the general overview of ordinances, that was a lot of work. This one looks like much less. And really, I talked to Megan about this a little bit. A lot of this is gonna be from 1978. I'll let Megan talk about, the legality of some of this stuff, just because it's from 1980 doesn't mean it's bad. But I'm hoping that we can, even if we don't make a lot of changes, we at least get eyes on it, and then we made a decision on if it needs to be updated or not updated. I'll turn it over to Megan.
So I know if you listen to our council meetings, we talk a lot about with our ordinances being so outdated. With the pool, it's a little bit different. The city is still required to follow state guidelines. And so there's a lot of health and safety guidelines in place specifically for public pools. So the state doesn't update those ordinances or their legislative side as much. So when we're going through the review, and we're definitely need our legal team to ensure, we want to make sure we stay in compliance with the state side. We can always go stricter, but we cannot go weaker. So if you wanted to remove, say, bathing before, that's technically required at a state level. Does everyone follow it? We know they don't. But there are certain ones in there that we will have to keep. And then there's others that we probably can remove because they're no longer valid on either side. But I do think it's good because you guys were tasked with the parks ordinance and they just approved your recommendations. I want to give you guys 100% props on that. Because I think it's been like 2 years in the works on trying to get some of that and y'all just like sailed right through. I'm excited for the festival side. I want to do the
Yes.
festival.
Yeah.
When I got to Alpine, Cinco de Mayo and 4th of July were in the park, whether alcohol was legal or not. I'm just gonna say it, but I'm excited for that. So this is the next full section of that ordinance is going through the pool. This is also gonna be a great opportunity if we wanna look at the rules and regulations of the pool. Obviously, no running is a mandatory one to get included in there. But maybe there's some in there that we're not including that we should include in there, and that will help with our lifeguards. So if you've ever been to our pool, our lifeguards are about 99% high school kids.
Yeah.
And so they're not reading our ordinances, they have a hopefully recreation coordinator that says, no, this is what we need to follow. But maybe we could provide some of that additional little bit of clarity, so that when we do hire lifeguards, we can say, hey, these are the rules. It's not just the no running, it's more to it. And then that will help them and, develop them to be, good lifeguards. That's a lot. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna never know what you thought you knew about a pool.
So these are all pretty short. I guess one last question I would have for Megan would be, as we go through this, like on the general ones, we brought in the chief, Chief Lasoya. Is there, who would be the expert on all these? Would it be you, legal team? Who needs to be out here just to verify if we have questions?
So. I'm not an expert, I just pretend to be one. I have a lot of full knowledge because I did operate and run a pool growing up, it was kind of a family deal. We do have another certified public pool operator besides myself. But in this case, I think having me here, and I think David really, he's the foreman, you know, this is his department, him here. And then once we have kind of a draft, I think our legal team could definitely step in. And we love to consult with other cities. So you may get an email with like 15 other cities' pool ordinances, because they've done this before. They're going through the same thing we're going through, they're updating. And so we always have references. So don't feel like it's a lot of information on what, because I said other cities have updated theirs and we can just borrow. We're very lucky. We don't have an indoor pool. Big difference between an indoor and an outdoor. And so we have a better end of the deal, in my opinion.
Just go over one thing, just so we can start. I'll go through, I'll read just like on the last one, ask for y'all's feedback. And I'd say David and Megan chime in if y'all have, if we're going awry and you say this is important to say this or whatever, y'all just chime in. But I'm just gonna read, y'all give feedback and we roll with it.
Okay.
Top one, section 7446, council designated administrator. Council is designated as the administrator of the municipal swimming pool under rules, regulations, and directives that it may from time to time promulgate. Megan, that sounds good, right? The council is leading.
Yes, and no. I think it probably needs to be updated that the city council designates.
Okay,
I don't think I've ever seen a city council personnel for administration.
so similar to the other ones where council will designate an administrator for. I guess if you could update that language, yeah, thank you,
Or you'll just take notes for us, we can work back those.
so we don't forget. 7477, admission charges. Charges to be made for admission to the municipal pool shall be set by the council by resolution annually. Question, Gio, should that move into a, what is the thing you've always said to move towards? Schedule.
Schedule.
Yep.
I would say, yeah, right?
Yeah, same language as a fee schedule.
All right, all that means is on y'all's end, and y'all give us feedback on this if you want. So if everything's set by resolution, they have to go to council every single year and council has to say, okay, guys, we have inflation, we're going from $1 to $1.50. So instead of doing that, that would be 10 to 15 different resolutions on everything they're changing prices on. Instead of that, Geo provides a fee schedule, which has all the changes in fees that comes to council at one point in time when we say, yes, good. So it's a much more efficient system.
Yeah, sounds good.
Y'all prefer that? Okay. Additional rules, such other rules, regulations, and administrative policies that from time to time are adopted by the council shall be and become a part of this article as supplementary rules and regulations to this article, and violations thereof shall be subject to the penalties provided for violation of this code. Does that just mean that there's other rules?
Then they can add.
Well, there's all the state guidelines. Read it one more time.
Such other rules, regulations, and administrative policies that from time to time are adopted by the council, so adopted by the council, shall be and become a part of this article as supplementary rules and regulations to this article. And violations thereof shall be subject to the penalties provided for violation of this code. I mean, to me, that just,
I feel like it's not necessarily needed because it's an ordinance. So I'm trying to think of other outside rules that you would adopt
that would
that
be,
wouldn't be in the ordinance.
Um.
Gio, what are your thoughts?
I think it was meant to be a blanket policy, just to add in the ordinance that they could set additional rules.
outside of the ordinance.
Like a
Yeah.
resolution? based
Right.
on-
That's what I think it was meant for, but I mean, I'm not sure that there's really a need for it or not. I think it's one of those things that we can get rid of.
Why don't we take it out And as we make the updates, if we think or we see another city that has a separate set of rules maybe, then we can consider it, otherwise we'll take it out.
Okay,
Do y'all have any opinion?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. 7479-74-100 reserved. Do y'all have an opinion?
Serve the community.
Division 2, conduct in pool area. 74-101, applicability of regulations. This division shall govern all persons using municipal pool or pool property or present at such municipal pool or pool property. Failure to comply with this division shall constitute a misdemeanor. So all that's basically just saying is that this section here is dealing with conduct in the pool, correct? Yeah.
So, Gio, do we need to add that it's the level, it would be a class C misdemeanor with up to a fine of whatever?
I would say it would be best to add it in the update, you know.
So what we've been doing with a lot of our ordinances, because they've been kind of vague like that, well, it's a misdemeanor. Well, if you have a knife fight at the pool, it's obviously a misdemeanor, maybe a felony. But we don't clarify within our ordinance that it could be a fine up to. If it's a class C, so I think we need to be a little bit more specific so that if someone does violate, you know, within the compounds of the pool, it's a little bit clearer to prosecute.
Which goes to municipal court. And then it would actually say, I'm assuming in there like $500 or
Up to
2,000.
500.
Okay.
Now, most things that go through our municipal court, if you're not aware, are class C misdemeanors. Otherwise it would go to the county court or the district court, so it's really dependent on the level. So we're trying to clarify within our own ordinances so that, you know, the prosecution doesn't have a question, like black and white.
And y'all stop me too if there's anything.
Mhm.
Section 74-102, running prohibited. There shall be no running in the pool area. Sounds good.
Look at that, ready for important.
74-103, drinks prohibited. No drinks or containers of drinks of any kind shall be permitted in the fenced-in pool area. Because it says that, there should be no clarification on bottles, right? Or any
Actually,
kind
that one does need to be cleaned up.
Yeah,
So, like I said, this was, when was that one put in?
78.
See, different time period.
Mhm.
That one, we do allow beverages.
yeah, don't you have a vending machine in there?
We do sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have our own concessions.
Mhm.
We do need to, that beverages are allowed, but for this, there cannot be alcohol. This is a strict. no
Yeah.
alcohol. And they cannot be glass.
Glass.
So we do allow beverages, no alcohol, no glass.
Yes.
Any other clarifications you guys think?
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but is there anything about food?
I think there is one about food as well.
There's the alcoholic beverages one here.
And if it's not specifically in there, it may be just one that we have in place as far as food. It's allowed to a certain degree. You can't have a barbecue pit.
Yeah, it could be cooking out there.
I mean, so that's why we encourage people to bring their in and have the pool and have your party.
Do we allow food?
So we used to have our own concessions. So we do allow food and I can't remember if it's actually listed out that way. But if it's not, I think we do need to include an
on
item
this one.
about food being allowed. But no barbecue pits, no,
It's usually pizza parties. really.
yeah, it really is just.
Yeah, something.
No
you
electric
just-
grills.
That sounds like something that you guys would probably really be able to clarify, because y'all know what should and shouldn't be allowed.
And it just becomes a hazard. I mean, there's not a lot of space.
Any other food items y'all are thinking that we're not thinking? of?
Not right now.
No.
All right, then, 74-104. Number of divers on diving board, there may be only one diver on the diving board at any given time.
That's-
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Swimming and diving area. No swimming shall be permitted in the diving area or under any diving board except upon returning to the pool surface from a dive.
Makes sense.
Okay. 74-106, use of safety ropes. Swimmers shall not use safety ropes except for emergency safety, and there shall be no playing upon or with such ropes. I have a question now that we're reading through some of these. Is there signage with all these items out there? Like, these are basically rules for swimmers out there. Do we have signage saying these exact things?
Not all of it.
Okay,
So
Most of it.
we have a lot of the basic, no alcohol, no glass. As far as the ropes. We don't have a lot of people, you may know different than I, but when I was doing it, we don't really have a lot of people on the ropes because we don't really put ropes. So I don't know if you've ever been to a pool where they'll do the ropes with the little floaty balls on them. To divide like the deep end from the shallow end. Remember Alpine, if you, I guess, none of us have been here long enough, Alpine used to do swim meets. And so they would have lanes, and those are the ropes. I actually don't think we would own ropes.
We have just one that goes across, but
Deep end and.
when the elderly come, the senior citizen, they wanna take it off because they wanna do the laps.
They
swim
wanna
lap.
do laps.
And then
I
yes,
don't
we'll
suggest
put that.
removing it, because like I said, we're hiring a recreation coordinator, the idea is to get back into that process. And then we could update our signs with don't hang on the ropes. And we just ask because obviously you're gonna break them.
Yeah.
They are screwed into the side of the pole, which you could break some of that concrete as well.
Yeah.
And people tend to think it's a toy and can cause harm.
the ropes.
They burn. It's nylon, it's not friendly.
I think it's a floating. So they just hang on it.
I guess y'all have any other items on safety ropes?
No.
All right, 74-107, rough play. No dunking of others or rough play shall be allowed in the pool or pool area.
Makes sense.
Toys, floats, etc. Inflatable toys, floats, or other paraphernalia shall be permitted in the pool area only at the discretion of the pool manager. Do we have a pool manager? Do we always have a pool manager? Okay, there is at all times.
Yes, so we have the, like I said, we create the recreation coordinator, and then we have a pool manager, and usually a number two, and then your.
Works.
Any item on that one?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. I'm gonna come back to something at the end of this. Number of swimmers. Pool manager shall have the authority to determine the number of swimmers in the pool at any given time. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. I would actually like to add to that, so there are some guidelines on to how many, kids can be in the pool based on the number of lifeguards available. And so I'd like to make it a little bit, because, you know, it gives a little guidance as far as,
Yeah.
oh, I just, you know, I'm only gonna have 5 in the pool today, we're closed. But so that they know, you know, typically each lifeguard is responsible for a certain. And so we wanna kind of provide, and that way if the public says, well, there's not that many in the pool, we can go back and say, well, the pool manager does have the discretion. But per lifeguard, if you only have 2 lifeguards, they can't have more than a certain number. So we don't wanna jeopardize the child or an adult's life, but at the same time, we don't want the lifeguards to be over inundated.
You want flexibility. You have any other thoughts?
No, sounds good.
Okay. Playing with pool equipment. No playing shall be permitted upon ladders or boards or upon or with other pool equipment. So that's diving board, I'm assuming, ladders.
I also want to put the, disability chair.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people like to think that's,
And is the board a diving board?
yes, and let's put some clarification by the.
Okay, there are no other boards out there, right?
No.
lifeguard
nurse.
person.
The disability chair. Okay,
And I think there is a technical term for the size of
all right, 74-111, talking to the lifeguard. There shall be no talking to the lifeguard on duty except to call for assistance or instructions regarding pool safety or etiquette. All good? Alcoholic beverages, no alcoholic beverages in any form shall be permitted in the pool area or in the parking area adjacent to the pool area. Correct on the parking area, right? That doesn't conflict or anything with our general ordinance. We didn't allow it in the parking area, I don't think.
I don't think we addressed it in the parking, we just addressed it in the parks. I think that's,
We didn't say parking lots or anything.
But still considered park property, no?
so. I'm gonna drink and I'm gonna go in the pool.
Mhm. Yeah, makes sense.
You don't want them drinking in the parking area, going to go in the pool, because no one's paying attention to the parking area. Now, tying it back to the parks, we didn't include it, period. It's just the parks, you have to have, you know, a permit, or if you're doing a festival or something. But if I'm bringing in alcohol because I'm in a permit, obviously I'm gonna have it in the parking area, in the
Would
the area.
would it make sense now that we have events and stuff like that? To just state that there should be no inebriated person in the area? The only reason I say that is what if we had a permitted event with alcohol
In
at
the
that,
parking
at
lot.
the same time it was going?
So that's actually just, regular industry.
Yeah, right, I
Yeah,
think,
it's public intoxication. Doesn't matter where you're at in the city. If you're in the public eye and you are inebriated, you possibly get arrested.
Gotcha.
So the last ordinance did say it shall be unlawful for any person to consume or to have in his possession an alcoholic beverage within the parking lots.
What did-
Yes, baseball fields, walking and jogging track and soccer fields located in Coconut Park.
Oh, so we're good.
yeah,
That's what I was thinking, because I thought it was kind of weird. That
I
makes
thought
sense.
we left it out. We talked about it.
So no form shall be permitted in the pool area or in the parking area adjacent to the pool area. So no change is really needed, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Shower required. All swimmers must take showers before entering the pool.
Believe it or not, that is a help.
Like skin.
Okay. And that goes back to the thing you said where maybe we don't have every rule on the design.
I think there's one that says swimming caps.
that's the next one, yeah.
Bathing caps required. That's still legal too? Required?
Honestly, I think that one has been cut off.
We need to cut it off, right?
I've never seen a person.
So we would check with legal on that.
Provided everyone at the pool will be silent.
How we'll finance the city.
Yeah.
All right, so bathing caps is gonna go bye-bye. Accompaniment of small children. All children under 6 years of age in the pool area must be accompanied by a parent or other responsible adult person who is 18 years of age or older.
So that one actually is not our current practice.
What's ours?
Current practice is 14. I think it's been 14 and under.
I was gonna say 6 feels a little young.
We go.
It's the babysitter.
Yes, so that's
Ah.
the hardest part about being in the lifeguard position, is you don't wanna obviously be rude. But they're not babysitters. They're there to protect those who are enjoying the facility. We've been practicing for 14, maybe 12. I think, because a lot of people will drop off their kids and leave. So it was 14, and then, but they have to be accompanied by someone who is obviously of age 18.
Okay.
I mean, I think we could compromise on that.
I think 14 is a good age.
Maybe even 13 just because of the teen,
Yeah.
no,
So
12,
I was thinking
13.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then once they're teens, they're allowed to
Yeah.
basically be their own.
What is Texas?
So
So I think, like I said, I think you 12, because you know, teens, you're supposed to be, you know, a little bit more responsible. So anyone under the age of 12 and under would have to have an adult with them.
yeah.
And it's hard because a lot of our lifeguards don't wanna, can I see your ID, how old are you?
13 is a pretty common number, PG 13.
So
Yeah.
13, you can get a better idea, and then anyone over that, obviously doesn't need the supervision. But then they need to make it.
Kinda
And
like-
do we want to define adult as an 18-year-old? Or do we have to define it as a 17?
I think 18. Doesn't matter. When I turned 17, like only one person told me I could legally be tried as an adult. Like I don't think they all like as soon as they turn 17, I don't think they think of themselves as an adult. So I think even at 18 is still fine. It's a nice round number.
Yeah.
I think adults.
13 and 18.
And I like the 13 number.
Yeah.
For-
Tie it back to PG-13.
In the school district, we have COPA, Child Online Privacy Protection Act, and that's always 13. Like for some
Yeah.
reason, America likes the number
Yeah.
13. Okay, so what that's gonna change down to 13.
I think
And-
18.
Other responsible person who's 18 years or older, we liked that number, right?
Yeah.
Smoking, no smoking in the pool area shall be permitted.
Can we include vaping?
Yeah, they.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
I'm not trying to,
include vaping.
we've got
Refuse disposal. No refuse of any kind or nature shall be deposited or permitted to be deposited in any manner in the swimming or wading pool or in any other portion of the pool area other than in designated receptacles.
What are we talking about? Just trash?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I know that we currently don't have a wading pool, but I don't wanna take that out.
Just in
Um,
case.
I mean, the area is there,
Mhm.
the piping is actually there. Maybe down the road when we get a little, money.
Question, Gio, solid waste, chapter 82, is that the one that council just updated not long ago? And
Yes.
Yes.
would any of that be pertinent to this? Because I know that was a lot of, we argued about tree limbs and everything else, but. In like definitions of trash or any of that other kind of stuff, I mean, I can't,
I don't think so.
I think we could include household. They should not have tree limbs in the pool area.
yeah,
They should not be illegal dumping in the pool area. Now, if someone comes and dumps a couch off at the pool and we catch them at illegal dumping, we're gonna get them right away. But maybe we defined it as household trash.
I mean, it's always, it's 99% of it's gonna be like you said, soda cans and, candy wrappers. I was just wondering if there's any caveat, because we updated chapter 82, and can't, I didn't think it'd be pertinent, so no changes? No changes, Megan, Gio?
I think the only thing I would want to change is the refuge.
The refuse,
Yeah, or refuse.
would we, instead of,
Just the terminology, to
Yeah.
match chapter 82.
Oh, okay.
I mean, because we don't utilize that as much.
we could call it trash disposal. I mean, that's exactly what we asked, is, are we talking about trash?
That's like-
Cause that's.
like your interest. This is weird, but do other ones have anything about like defecating? That's something we should,
Some cities do have that.
that way it'd be a misdemeanor if they do it.
It's not typically adults.
Yeah.
Diapers, children and non.
Water,
smokers,
swimming, like first
Right.
aid.
some things.
Mhm.
That does create some issues, especially from the sanitation standpoint. So that would be one of the sections we would definitely want to include,
like that.
that they are properly equipped to utilize them.
Is there a diaper station out there?
Did we have one in? No. That's not something that, that is something that can be easily remedied. We don't typically get a lot of babies.
No, not really.
But I don't wanna also, we're doing it, might as well include whatever we need to include for, the future.
Yeah.
But we can easily add it to.
Yeah,
You sure there's no one in the women's?
Hmm?
In the women's? It's an older bathhouse. We do change the curtains every year.
All right, so we went trash disposal. We will do 74-118 trespassing. No one except authorized pool personnel or other city employees engaged in their respective duties relative to city business. Garbage collection or other designated duties shall be permitted within the pool area except when the pool is open for business and regular attendants are on duty. Any violation of this section shall be declared a trespass.
Per se.
And we want to add and fine. The terminology to add.
Trespass and shall be declared a trespass and be
And can
fined.
possibly be fined.
And be fined.
And yes, we do have people who trespass.
And y'all questions, then I guess David and Megan, is there anything that y'all see regularly here that's not
We have alcoholic and, smoking, and we put in also like tobacco, like,
No tobacco products.
All right,
Okay.
that's right, yeah.
that's in some 18-year-old,
Doing tobacco and
dipping?
dipping, yeah.
so we can put that in.
Good call.
Anything else you guys thinking about?
I know we talked about the diapers, putting some clarification on the number of people. I'm gonna review a couple other cities, just to make sure we have what we need covered. I know that we talked about the cost or the fees to get in the pool, and David, you can chime in on this one. We don't really have a set time for the pool. We did that with the parks. I know that it's a little bit harder because of staffing, if we don't have the individuals to manage the pool, but do we want to kind of make it a little bit easier where the pool will be open, like have a little section with the pool open? Kind of, I don't know.
I think so, but there should be some verbiage in there about like, depending on staff availability as
And
well.
Yes.
And whether,
I just think it'd be easier because I know every year I get the phone calls, Gio calls me. They call Gio, they call David, when's the pool gonna open, how long is it gonna be open for? I know our pool parties, we've done it where it's every day, we've done it where it's just weekends.
Yeah.
Those are typically in the evening only, and they're only 2 hours, 6 to 8. And that would stay in line with the regulations of the park, especially if they wanted to rent the pavilion at the same time as the pool. Typically right now we open to the public from 12 to 5.
Yes.
And then we were opening from like 11 to 12 for laps.
For the laps.
Is that, do we wanna kind of make that a little bit more permanent?
What are the hours again? 12 to 5 for everyone?
Yeah, general public,
And
and
then,
then 11 to noon is lap swimming. And then typically we do the pool parties 6 to 8.
so then y'all have a 11 to 12, 12 to 5. What happens between 5 and 6?
It gives them the opportunity to do a little.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they switch out. to
Yes.
doing the-
get everybody out and, yeah.
So that's the other thing, if you've never been a lifeguard, lifeguards can't work one spot the whole time.
No.
They have to rotate, they have to be provided a break, that's why you see them kind of, I hope you see them moving around. We have them working in the desk, we have them, you know, and then there is some, I have to look, I don't think we're open long enough, but with the lap swim. There is a time period where the pool does actually have to be closed for like 20 minutes.
That breaks.
Yeah, it's a break.
I
Um,
think before it was just
Oh, yeah.
one time.
It really is
They
dependent
now-
on hours.
Yeah, I think now like they do it twice.
Yeah, so those are things that I think maybe we maybe wanna solidify. Just so that people understand, it really isn't just oh, they just don't wanna. No, it's actually kind of a requirement.
I'm from the, like, when I look at open and close, I think that generically, just to me, an ordinance is basically telling what someone can and can't do. And so edifying the 12 to 5, 11 to 12, 12 to 5, 6 to 8 doesn't make sense to me, because then the city loses the flexibility if y'all ever want to change. Like, to me, the ordinance is basically saying, don't vape, don't have glass stuff out there. If the hours are 11 to 8, then that's cool, but we can still choose what we do between 11 and 8, because that's the city, they can figure out what they want to do with the flexibility of that time. It's just saying that don't be here before 11 and don't be here after 8.
Great.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with that. I that's actually fine. I just wanna make sure we have something that kind of. You know, gives a little bit more guidance than,
Which is, I mean,
I wanna go swimming at 7 AM.
Like maybe like instead of like having like set rules that can't be flexible, like maybe like a sign or something. Do you guys have anything out there right now?
So we kind of do, and it does change. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because the council, when you set the fees by resolution, you're also setting the times. It's part of the resolution. So when we change to a fee schedule, ideally we wouldn't put the times in the fee schedule, or would we? Could we? Put it up?
Yeah,
or.
so we've been doing it.
Because we've been doing it by resolution and it includes everything,
So the fee schedule is a resolution. It's just a one-time resolution.
every year.
Okay. Which, I mean, I'm fine too, if the pool's always gonna be open, from June or, if it May to August or whatever else, then the sun's always gonna go around the earth about the same. So the times are gonna be similar there. So I think if we set 11 to 8, that's fine. It's not like 2026 June is gonna be different than 2027 June.
Yeah, the only thing I don't ask you to set is the opening and closing of the pool. We try our best to get Memorial Weekend, we really do, but we rely on the high school kids to be available to lifeguard.
Okay. Seems time. Like. Like, within like a little subsection.
Yeah, then we can decide it's harder to
Mhm.
rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that will also help with why doesn't it open it?
Yeah.
A lot of people at 10 are about ready to go. That's typically when they're closed.
Especially in the summer.
So you all like the 11.
All right.
I guess that was the only things I had, and then in my mind, we'll update some of these, and then we're not pushing to get this all complete, quick. I always say. We edit it, we come back, we look at it again, make sure we like the language, and then we go on.
Yeah,
We're in no rush.
Okay.
That was everything I had.
All right, moving to action items. We don't have any action items. Would we pick our date here for our next meeting or in the board member comments?
I've already said.
It's always the second, I should say.
That's right. All right, so any board member comments? No? All right, it is 6:36. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Mr. Rox makes the motion, Iris,
I second that.
all in favor? Motion carries.